What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here coming at y'all with another SEC in 30 days episode here. We're joined by Tennessee football insider, host of the Bleav in Tennessee football. Kyler Kerbyson is here joining us today. So I just want to say I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I love it when any show can bring up the Vols and start talking about it more. So I'm very, very happy to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. We gotta, I feel like more podcasts need to kind of like spread their wings. The ones that don't focus on one team, kind of try to cover more teams than just the few that every podcast out there covers. That's why we kind of started this. But I want to get to the 2020 season as much as I know it's probably not the best topic to talk about. The Vols had a difficult season, 3-7, but there were some close losses that I think the Vols, if a play or two goes differently, they could have pulled out the win in those games. I'm looking specifically at the Auburn game. As an Auburn guy, Auburn didn't have a hold of that game until very late. But for you, did this season meet, exceed, or fall short of your preseason expectations?
Oh, definitely fell short. I mean, everyone going into the season, we had just, had 8 wins, went to a bowl. We're doing, on the rise. Thought we were going to be great this year. Thought we would compete for the SEC at least. And, it just hit the fan. It really fell apart with the quarterback position. That was our crutch the entire time. It was something that, Jeremy Pruitt just didn't have control of, didn't understand. I don't know if that was because he's a defensive-minded coach, if he was trying to put too much effort into it, if it was, Coach Chaney, our offensive coordinator, just not understanding exactly the limitations of Garantano. But that's where it fell apart. That's why we had the season we had. It was the quarterback position. It was not realizing we had to get JG out of there earlier and just try some of the younger guys. So it was very disappointing, but morale is high now. The complete change happened this offseason with Pruitt and Fulmer both leaving, getting in Danny White, getting in Josh Heupel. And when you look at it on paper, Pruitt's a defensive-minded coach. He's a no-nonsense country boy who hasn't really played big-time football and, had never had head coaching experience. And what we get in return is an offensive-minded coach who was a quarterback for a big-time team and has head coaching experience and a winning record. And that's exactly what we wanted. That's exactly our problem last year. So to have Coach Heupel here just really makes us feel a lot better as, a Vol faithful.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was a good hire, and that's kind of where I wanted to move to next. You mentioned Pruitt, Fulmer out. They needed to go after the internal investigation. NCAA is looking into it. But Heupel comes in as the guy at head coach from UCF. You kind of talked about the things that made him the guy for Tennessee. What are your expectations for him, though? I mean, and how many years do you think he needs to get Tennessee back at the top of the SEC East?
So, everyone gives the 3-year buffer for new-time head coaches, which is an obvious one I would give for him. But honestly, I think it might be 4. I've seen him do a lot of good things in the transfer portal, just you bringing in guys from other schools. But we got a hill to climb. I mean, we had about 30-plus guys leave the team, and that's a lot of spots to fill. And I got to go to a practice during spring and watch and, be there the whole time, see exactly what was going on. And the offense looks fun. It looks exciting. It looks great. It looks up-tempo. Looks like we can do anything that we would want. But the defense just does not look like it's there. It is missing the size at the linebacker position for sure. It's just missing skill. It's missing a lot. So it's going to be the thing we're going to struggle with the most this year. I said it earlier this year, but I feel like we're going to be the Ole Miss of last. So up-tempo, high-scoring offense, but we're going to let up a lot of points too. But, there's upside. There's, bringing in the Dejon Terry from Kansas, defensive tackle, bringing in Caleb Presley from USC, defensive tackle, bringing in Jawan Mitchell and other guys on defense that, hey, we're going to build this defense up. We're going to actually make it competitive, actually make it good, because the kind of offense he runs, it really does make it hard for a defense in general. And if you don't have guys, if you have very low depth, it's even worse. So honestly, I give him 4, and I believe in an offensive mindset so much. I played offensive line. I'm an offensive guy at heart, so I think if you do have a good offense, you can win some meaningful games, and that's just the way NCAA college football is trending. It's just offensive mindset, offensive team. So I like the fact that we got him.
Right. And I mean, you mentioned the offense. To have that, you're going to have a good quarterback to compete in the SEC. We see that year in and year out. Garantano's out, out in the transfer portal. I Bleav he went to Washington State, correct?
Yes, yeah. He did. And one thing that was pretty funny is his first pass attempt at a spring game was an interception. So that went quite viral on Vol Twitter, just being like, "Yep, tried to tell you," but he got like the coach from the Cardinals. Who was it? They are who we thought they were. That's exactly what Garantano is.
It was funny. We had Craig Powers from SB Nation on for our Washington State interview, and he said every time he posts a Jaron Garantano piece, more Tennessee fans comment on their hate for Garantano than Washington State fans comment on anything else he posts. He said, I just stopped posting about Garantano. He said it's not even worth it with the Tennessee fans. But I want to get to the 3-man race. This is the biggest decision for Heupel into year 1. I think Harrison Bailey, Brian Moore, and Hendon Hooker are the 3 guys. I've already said on this podcast, I really like Hooker for this position just based on the experience. But as a Tennessee guy, what do each of these guys bring to the table, and who is your personal favorite to be QB1 for 2021?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm excited that there's this much of a competition, that there's this many guys, because whoever does come out on top, he had to go through the ringer. He had to get such good coaching from Coach Heupel, being a quarterback guy, and so much competition between his peers that he's going to be our best option. Now, they all bring something different to the table. Hendon Hooker with his running ability, is bar none. You saw his athleticism at Virginia Tech. Like you said, he does have the experience more than the other 2. Brian Maurer's a little bit of both. He is kind of under the radar when it comes to his speed and his athleticism, but he has a strong arm and can still get that ball there. Sometimes he's a little inaccurate, but when we watched in the spring game, there were some deep balls that he really hit in stride, which I love to see. And Harrison Bailey, powerful arm, sometimes overthrows guys, which you wouldn't expect, even on deep balls. But I think his downside is probably just he hasn't played a lot. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He hasn't been put in weird situations or big-time situations where he has to pull something out of his hat. So right now, my favorite is Brian Maurer. I think from the spring game, what I saw, from practice and what I saw, it's the other things. It's not necessarily the arm, the legs, the knowledge of the game. It's his demeanor, his leadership, his wanting to take over that role as a starting quarterback that impressed me the most, that made me think this is the guy moving forward. Now, Milton coming in from Michigan, who knows? With these guys, maybe they have an amazing camp. Maybe, someone bumps Maurer off and, I'm wrong. Well, great. Because if that had to happen, if Maurer had to be bumped off and another guy steps up, that means he did great things during camp. That means he really is ready for this position. So I just love the fact that we have such a competitive group in this quarterback room.
Right. And I mean, the future is there too. I mean, do you think Caden Salter, I know a lot of people don't expect him to compete, but how did he look out of spring practice? And do you think he could be the future quarterback for Tennessee?
Well, here's the issue. So a lot of people, if you're not following Tennessee football, and you might not know, but Caden Salter has been getting in trouble recently. He really hasn't gotten an opportunity to be out on the field, to learn the offense, to practice during spring practice. He got in trouble with marijuana possession, not once, but twice now. And it seems as if he might be headed out the door. Now, I have no idea. I'm not going to say that I know everything that's going on inside the Tennessee locker room, but when a guy gets in trouble in a short amount of time between each other for the same thing, there's obvious pattern, and the responsibility just isn't there, especially for someone who wants to be QB1. Like, you just can't do that. You can't be that guy. So, not sure about Caden Salter. It might have to be, Taven Jackson coming in the next class, who is the future quarterback of Tennessee, but we'll see.
Right. Yeah, there's always a big unknown, and that's disappointing to hear, because I know he was I think he was the highest rated player in the class, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we were very excited about him coming in. Like we mentioned, after our struggles with JG, it was something that we were excited about to have him. So it really does just stink that he's made these bad decisions.
Right. And I mean, I want to get to the transfer portal, because Tennessee is the best example of the transfer portal takes away, but the transfer portal also gives you some stuff. They've lost the highest number of players to the transfer portal, which isn't shocking due to the free 1 year, due to the coaching change. But also, Heupel and the staff have landed 9 impact transfers that are now going to be immediately eligible. You talked about some of them earlier. But for you, who were the biggest targets in the transfer portal, and who do you think will make the biggest impact this year for the Vols?
First off, Jawan Mitchell from Texas is going to make a huge impact. With us losing multiple linebackers in the portal, it was huge to get a linebacker. And in the past, when guys transferred, they were second string, third string guys. They never really got to play. That's why they're transferring. They didn't like the coaches, all that kind of stuff. But Jawan Mitchell was a starter. He led the team in tackling. This isn't a scrub. This is a guy who knows what he's doing. He, has been on a big stage. He's, coming from Texas. It's not a small school. It's a very big school. So I think he can make an impact on the field, in the locker room, in the film room, everywhere. He can be a leader for that linebacker room, be one of the older guys in there, be a leader in the weight room, be a leader on the field. So that was the biggest get for us, in my opinion. I was so happy when we actually got him. And, I think another one that could be good for us is Javonte Payton, the wide receiver from Mississippi State. Now, we got some wide receivers out there in, Jones Jr. and Hyatt. But, a lot of times that third receiver is the most important guy, just to get some, 5-6 yard outs that he might be able to turn into something, but give the other guys a break. I don't see him as our number one wide receiver, number 2, but someone who can take advantage of a mismatch on a linebacker. And in this Heupel offense, with how up-tempo it is, how, inventive he is as an offensive coordinator, you can get the ball at any position. And I'm sure Javonte Payton is excited about that. I'm sure that's why he wanted to come here, because he talked to Heupel, came to understand, what is expected of his offense and what's going to happen with his offense. And that probably was like, hey, I can get the ball a lot more, or, be taking advantage of my skill set a lot more here than it was at Mississippi State. So those two guys I'm definitely excited about. I think they can make an immediate impact for sure.
Right. And I mean, on the recruiting trail, I get it. I mean, as an Auburn guy, I do appreciate Dylan Brooks as an Auburn fan. So I know y'all lost him, but it's still the top 25 class. So I feel like Heupel did a good job of keeping some of these higher rated freshmen in the class. You look at Salter, you look at Aaron Willis. What were the biggest positional needs in this class? And do you see any instant impact freshmen coming out of this class?
Well, that's the funny part. I was going to say Caden Salter, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure if anybody from the freshman class is going to be an immediate impact. I am excited about next year's class. I think, it is an uphill battle for Heupel, but some of the guys that he's been trickling in, the Taven Jackson that I mentioned earlier, quarterback, which is like, hey, I need to bring in another quarterback, even though I have all of these other guys. It's something you got to just always have a rotating door, which is good that he understands that. We just got Cody Sampson commit, which is a speedster running back, and he's not a tiny speedster. He's 5'11", 200. So I love to see that. And I think he's putting together a good class of his own. Obviously he's a good salesman. If he was able to have this many guys stay as much as he did in that 2021 class. So it looks like the future is bright moving forward. It looks like he can be a good recruiter moving forward because, hey, that's the name of the game nowadays, right? It's recruiting. It's getting the guys in here, And when I first met him, like I said, I went to practice early this year, spring practice, got a chance to meet him. And the first thing he said was, yeah, we got to get some dudes in here. That was the first thing he said. He's like, hey, yep, we're going to be all right. We're going to, fix some things that need to be fixed, but we need to get some dudes in here. So he understands, hey, I got to get big time guys in here if I want to be competitive in the SEC. So it's great to see.
Right. I'm excited. I think Heupel was a great choice. I know there was some rumors that they were looking at some other candidates, but I feel like they went with the right guy in Heupel. But I want to get to the next season. It's going to be an interesting one for the Vols. But with this mass exodus of talent that we saw, there's going to be some breakout players that pop for the Vols. For you, when you look at the roster, who do you have your eyes on as the biggest breakout stars for Tennessee next year?
Well, whoever starts at quarterback, obviously, we had that conversation. It's obviously the biggest position on the field. So whoever gets out there and starts, it's going to be huge for them. They could be the hero of Tennessee for the next 3 years. So try and take advantage, boys. But other guys, Jalen Hyatt at wide receiver, he had a great season last year as a freshman. Even though we had quarterback troubles, he was still a threat against a lot of good defenses. Had a long touchdown versus Bama last year, and he's just a very wiry, athletic dude that I love watching him play. So I'm super excited to see how he's progressed, see how he has added to his game this year. And then our running back room is kind of wide open. We've got 3 or 4 guys in there that I could see, just splitting time the entire season, having 3 or 4 500-yard rushers. But D Beckwith, who's a big dude, coming in probably 6'3", probably 225, 230. And I would love to see him go off. I would want him to be our mini Derrick Henry, if you will. But I have no idea if he's going to be a 2,000-yard rusher, but would love to see what comes out of him and his work ethic. And he really, didn't play a lot of running back in high school and didn't play a lot last year, so it's kind of a new position for him. But I would love to see him flourish in this 2021 season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what Tennessee does this year, what Heupel pulls out of some of these guys that he got. But looking ahead to the schedule, man, it's the SEC. As I've done interviews in this conference, everyone's schedule is just ridiculously brutal. Road games at Florida, at Alabama, at Kentucky, who's been good for the past few seasons. You also get a non-conference game against Pitt that isn't going to be easy. And you draw Ole Miss, who might have their best team since 2013. And you get Georgia, who has been running the East for the past few seasons.
Yeah.
For you, year one for Heupel, what is the ceiling and or floor for the 2021 team?
Listen, first off, I'd like to say I have no idea who does the scheduling, but it looks like we're going to get the best other West team every year. We always have to play Alabama. That's always going to be on our schedule. But it looks like every time the other West team, it's the best year they've ever had. We played Auburn in 2012. They ended up winning a national championship. 2014, we're playing or 2015, we're playing Ole Miss. They have Kandichi, they have Treadwell, they have everybody on their team. It's almost insane the West team that we always end up with. But floor, I expect 4 wins. If we're going to be honest, you got to beat the non-conference teams, maybe squeak away with a South Carolina, a Missouri, beat a Vandy. But 4 wins, it's going to suck as a Vol fan. But we have been here for a couple years now. We have been at the bottom of the barrel for a couple years. So it's not the end of the world. He's still going to be the head coach. But ceiling, I can easily see squeaking out 6, being able to beat those non-conference teams, struggle against Pitt, but, beating Bowling Green, beating Pitt, beating Tennessee Tech, beating South Alabama. That's 4 right there. Then you got, games against Vandy, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Missouri. Just get 2 of those, get 6 wins, be bowl eligible, and, we'll see how it goes. It's everyone's always hopeful. I'm always I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist. I want us to win as much as possible. I believe that we can. So I'm hoping for 6. And, hey, is that asking a lot? I don't think so. As a fan of a team, for hope for 6, I don't think it's asking a lot. So, hey, Missouri, if you could lay an egg, and Kentucky, if you could just calm down for 1 week and let us win a couple of games, I'd be happy.
I feel that. Listen, as much as Tennessee might be in turmoil this all season, I still think they have a little bit more talent than Vandy. So I'll give y'all that game at minimum in the SEC. And definitely Missouri is a question mark every year. They either could be 8-4, 9-3, or they're 4-8, and you're like, what happened? Why did you go get Kelly Bryant? But,
yeah, exactly.
But, man, I've been to a lot of SEC stadiums. Tennessee is not one of them, mostly because a lot of the stadiums I've been to is because Auburn played there. They haven't played there in a long time. Since I think 2013 was the last time Auburn played in Knoxville. But for those who haven't been there, man, what makes Knoxville, Neyland Stadium such a unique environment on game days?
Man, it's just the fan base. It is. We do have the second biggest stadium in the SEC, so obviously it makes a difference. 102,455 being in there, but this fan base is insane. We talked about it with Vol Twitter. It's they love Tennessee no matter what. I don't think any other fan base in the world would still be as passionate about a team that has been this bad like Tennessee has over these recent years. I don't think any Alabama fans would be filling up the stadium if they were going 5-7, if they were going 4-7, if they were switching coaches every 3 years. I don't see that happening at a Clemson, at Ohio State, anywhere. This is completely different. People are different here. You will have a game this year that is sold out. And that would never happen anywhere else. It won't happen anywhere else. To have 102, 455 at a game for first-year head coach after winning 3 games the year before. That is what makes it so special. And you just give us a glimmer of hope, we'll give you everything. Everything we got. And it really shows with, previous games we've had in the past when, Oklahoma came in 2015, went to double overtime, ended up losing. But, Oklahoma players on that team say they've never heard anything louder. They've never experienced anything like that. And it's true. You don't. It's another world. It is honestly like it is a coliseum. It is, I get chills just thinking about it, but it's something that's, you might take for granted when you're there, but you have home field advantage for sure. every time you're playing at home. There's no doubt about that.
Right. I mean, I haven't been to Tennessee, but I've seen Tennessee play. I was at the Georgia-Tennessee game when y'all hit the Hail Mary. And
Wow. Okay.
I mean, even I just went with like some friends who were Georgia fans. So I was neutral. And I remember I was in the Georgia donor section and I like accidentally was the only one cheering it like within 15 sections either way. And the Tennessee fans were awesome down there. But I have to ask you, this is probably like a personal like podcast question. We've talked about it on the show. How in the world do you get 102,000 people to pull off checkerboarding the stadium perfectly? Like, what's the secret behind that? Because Auburn does whiteouts, and it's like 45% of the stadium forgets what white is that weekend. How does Tennessee pull it out?
It's incredible. It honestly is incredible. But I love that. I love that we were able to do that. We started doing that when I was playing there, so I felt very blessed, and it was an awesome atmosphere every time. So they actually created a website, and you punch in your ticket number, section, seat, where you're sitting on that website, and it tells you you're wearing orange or you're wearing white. And people took it to heart and said, okay, I'm definitely wearing orange. I'm definitely wearing white. Like, no way am I going to be the one in that square that looks like a dweeb. And, the best part is they were even able to plan it out around the opposing team's fans. So, I think we did it versus Georgia. We did it versus Florida. But, when we did it versus Georgia, the orange square that's supposed to be there, that's what we left as the Georgia section. So there was one square, instead of being orange, was red, and then the Florida section was like, instead of one square being orange, it was blue. So they really planned the whole thing out, and it made an awesome atmosphere. And we've, even done it at basketball games. Now that was a little easier because they put some shirts in the seats. And gave away some free T-shirts. So just in case, if you weren't wearing the right color, you had a T-shirt to put on, which definitely helped. But I definitely want to bring that back. I would love to bring back some of the things that I got a chance to do. The smoky gray uniforms, checkering of Neyland, those things. Just Barry Sanders. You look good, you play good. You play good, they pay good. They pay good. You live good. You live good. You die good. So
exactly.
It's exactly what you want. And yeah, I love Checker Neyland.
It's the Penn State whiteout. Checker Neyland's easy second for me, and I think it's 1A, 1B because those two schools can do it right. I'm actually going to Penn State this year for the Auburn game. I am praying for a whiteout. I need the whiteout in my life, but the checkers right there and the smoky gray uniforms are top 5 uniforms all time. By far.
Yes.
I don't know why y'all stopped that. That might need to be like the like home uniform for every home game. Those uniforms are clean.
Yeah. I got my jersey when I graduated, my gray jersey, so I still have that at home, and I absolutely love it. The helmet to go with it, with the Smoky Mountains and the helmet. It just made you feel like a badass. You couldn't help yourself, man. But yeah, I think Penn State will definitely wide out that. I mean, it's James Franklin, they're playing an SEC team. They're gonna take advantage of it. Big Ten is seen as second tier to SEC, so they're definitely gonna want to beat you guys.
Yeah, they definitely are, and I mean, honestly, just between us, they probably will this year. But that's just how I'm feeling right now. But man, I appreciate you coming on here. This was probably easily one of my favorite episodes to record. Where can they find you on social media? Where can they find the show? Anything else you want to plug, man? This time's yours.
Yeah, so follow me on all social medias: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's just at Kyler Kerbyson. Bleav in Tennessee Football is my podcast. I got it up on YouTube. I got it up on all podcast platforms. Listen to, and it's spelled BLEAV in Tennessee Football. So it's a little different spelling. And yeah, you can email me. You can email the show or call the show, text the show. Email is BleavinTennesseeFootball@gmail.com. Phone number is 865-322-9232. And let me know. Comment. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I love getting feedback from fans, getting feedback from non-fans. You can't say anything as bad as some coaches have said to me. So the more the merrier.
See, he's got thick skin, guys. Y'all can't come for him. He's ready for it. But man, make sure to go check out Bleav in Tennessee football. Also, make sure to go check out that network. Bleav has some of the coolest podcasts up there. That's a great podcast network too. So make sure to go check out Kyler's social media. Go follow him. Go check out the podcast. Follow Tennessee football this year. Y'all know where to find us. YouTube, the Bluebloods, any and all podcast streaming platforms. To subscribe now. But for Kyler, myself, and the Bluebloods, we are out.